William Bewley, good to see you.
Jordan Nemro. Happy
Welcome.
Friday.
Welcome to the Friday flow. I've changed my regular nasally voice with a much deeper sounding, still nasally voice. I don't know what happened. I just lost my voice and it's just here we are. So,
That's what we're going to have to
but I
deal
feel
with today.
spectacular. Today on the docket, a few things. Deel Rippling, the saga continues, and there's been a lot of, not leaked, just information and things about it that have come out that are pretty wild, very James Bondish, and I love it. That's why we just jump into that. What's your update? What do you think?
So we touched on the spy that is happening in B2B SaaS at the end of the last pod, and it's been developing. It's
Yeah.
really pretty crazy past series of events from the honeypot that Rippling set up. Apparently in that chat in Slack, which was the honeypot setup, was just the CRO of Rippling, and so there's no other reason that this alleged spy shouldn't enter that chat. So the whole way it went down was kind of like a movie. The whole way that supposedly the alleged spy became a spy for Deel is also kind of out of a movie. And so the spy deciding it's not worth basically how much he was paid to keep allegiance to Deel's team, he's flipped sides. He's now with Rippling. He's signed a affidavit of what happened, and it reads like a novel. I don't know if you had any takes on your particular highlights of that novel.
Absolutely. Send that watch to London is the phrase that just killed me. So they had all these code words, and they actually wanted this to be like a James Bond novel. Deel did. They literally were having fun with it, and it's all getting leaked and making them look pretty terrible. But my favorite line was "send that watch to London," which was code word, I believe, for, was it send the money? So was that what that part was?
I think so. Yeah, I think they were using it as maybe to cover their tracks for what the payments were for. They were really making it sound like they were selling watches online or something.
Oh, I loved it.
Yeah,
I loved it.
But yeah,
I mean, anyway,
pretty serious violation.
Yeah.
Certainly, it brings in the founders of the company, the founders' parents of the company, and spouses. It's pretty extreme. So it'll get litigated or it'll get settled. Either way, it's going to be very, very costly for Deel. Yeah, tough times ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was thinking about it. It seems so easy to do it. It kind of shocks me. It's you don't think, us as founders, I would never think that would happen within our company, right? It's I take it our company is a lot smaller, so I think we'd have a lot more transparency into how things are happening internally. I wonder if this is happening at other companies. It's got to be happening at other companies.
Yeah, I think for a while now, and I'm sure we'll get back to regular AI programming soon, but certainly with the sort of the pressing nature of the AI race, especially between countries at this point, right? Like the US versus China versus, are we in this Cold War? Is it an AI-based Cold War? The sort of incentive to do more corporate espionage in the AI labs has probably never been higher, and these were kind of like startups typically, like OpenAI. I'm sure they have good security, but they're not at the level of government security or the lockdown or the protocols or the can you plug a USB-C key into your laptop, all this kind of stuff that if you think there's a foreign adversary wants to steal your weights, and essentially that's kind of your secret sauce. Yeah, who knows? I'm sure there's some agents, some sleeper agents maybe in various AI labs. I don't know how you really are meant to work against it, but I think anytime the incentives are really high, people will do crazy stuff. And so I think that's probably what's been catching Deel a little bit. It's a shame that there's a huge market in HR and payroll. They can just both happily kind of take revenue from the Paycoms and ADPs of the world, but they chose to kind of butt heads with this kind of drama. So yeah, I don't think the juice was worth the squeeze. And
definitely not. I do want to get to our next topic, but I would be remiss if I didn't talk about this after what we just said. Are there sleeper agents at these AI companies? I don't know, but we did just have an incident last week, and I'm I gotta bring this up. It's crazy. We had somebody interview, made it through all rounds of engineering interviews. I talked to this person. They were really technical interviews. Yeah, it's an engineering role. They were great. I enjoyed them. It wasn't until I got to reference calls that I realized that they were not a real person. So maybe they were a real person, maybe they were a robot, but they were faking a lot of their resume. It's very obvious that they had AI assistants guiding them along the interviews, both technical and cultural. So, I mean, that was pretty wild. They almost got into the company. So maybe that was infiltration. Who knows?
Yeah, I think these are things that people are worried about how ChatGPT is disrupting like learning, right, at colleges and universities. I think every company also needs to be very vigilant with its hiring, its recruiting, and also trying to think through for themselves, like what is the correct way to enforce or not enforce. Like, should we do away with technical interviews now because they can be manipulated? Or do we trust the person that's, do we put our best faith in the person? It's a tough one, but it's very much a quick and changing world out there. So
totally. I mean, the engineering interview process at Woflow has evolved and has really evolved in the last 2 weeks. So we've changed a lot of what we're doing and really trying to hone in on like understanding if this is the person or is this AI assisting the person. Anyway, let's move on from that, but obviously not move on from AI because that's literally all we talk about and we love it. Let's talk about ChatGPT 4.0 image generation. This happened last week. We didn't have a Friday Flow last week, so we missed it, but we have to talk about it. It's absolutely insane. Will, what do you think?
Yes. Where do we begin? So there's obviously a bunch of really great, powerful image models, specifically text to image models. And I think 4.0 is the first time we've really seen a true multimodal model accelerate beyond like what we've seen historically. So 4.0 has always had image to image, text to image support. It's always been a little meh. They had DALL-E as well as their own text to image model that was very separate outside of 4.0. And so 4.0 was helpful at making some images, but wouldn't do things like character consistency or physics or other kind of things that you would think of, spatial awareness, those kind of things. It was just always like a little AI generated. And so what I think is super cool is obviously they just dropped a new version and it's insanely good and accurate at many, many things. I think what's really cool to see, and my biggest takeaway, is that something like Midjourney is also excellent if you want to make a very cinematographic image or a nice style of some kind of style that's evidently online.
Or like very lifelike.
Or very, very lifelike.
Hyper realistic,
Raindrops on a window, kind of with light flickering. Like Midjourney has been great at that. The whole thing though is that Midjourney requires a lot of prompt engineering. So you're in there, you're using different types of tags, different types. You're specifying ratios, you're specifying all sorts of preferences, which is great. You can really fine tune the exact picture. But if you just want a picture to look great, what's better than just a simple chat prompt? And so we've seen all LLMs require less and less prompt engineering as things kind of go on. It just kind of knows what you're asking for. I don't even bother changing any of my typos. I don't know about you anymore. I don't use capitalization. I don't fix typos. It just knows. And it's now doing that with 4.0 images. You don't really need to give it much at all. You say Ghibli style and everything. And I think the timeline had fun on X on this when it came out. Everything became Ghibli style, and you just put in a picture of yourself and say Ghibli, and it knows exactly what you mean. So that's pretty revolutionary, I think, of like how you prompt this thing, despite even the model just also being next level.
Yeah.
What are your takeaways, Jordan?
So I totally agree. I think to me the biggest monumental improvement is that originally you basically start from scratch with every single prompt, right? So you give it a prompt, you see what it gives you, you're like, oh, actually I want it to be a little bit more like that. But let's say you had it make, a person dancing. You say, oh, actually, I'd rather them, have their arms down. It's going to give you a new person. Like, it's not going to be the same person. So I think the biggest advancement that I see is you are actually interacting with the original image that you've created. So you can also give it an image and have it say, like, here's a picture of me eating a hamburger, make me actually eating a hot dog. And it will actually keep the image and mutate it just where you needed it to. And so this is something that's been missing forever, meaning the last, 2 years of the real world, the AI world. And I think the thing that's the scariest, I guess, the companies like Adobe. So Photoshop, this is something that must be terrifying to Adobe, right? Like this is finally, you can literally just say, oh, just change that little thing right there, and you don't have to go in and do your own little, minuscule cropping and stuff. So being able to manipulate what's already there, I think, is the biggest improvement overall. Obviously, just generally the quality's vastly improved as well, but that's a huge feature addition.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're the kind of things that just no one had nailed. And I think owning the whole stack that OpenAI are doing, I think has been able to do this. And I think if this was just a text to image model or an image to image model, it wasn't like a true multimodal model, it probably wouldn't be as capable. So I think they credit to them. They made a bet that multimodal was going to be the correct way, and lo and behold, they've dropped this banger. I don't know how it still kind of keeps happening. Do you know any of the behind the scenes? Why is this still 4.0? Why is this not 4.50 or 5.0? How do they keep improving the same model? Is it just fine tuning?
That's above my pay grade. I have no idea. I really have no idea. Like I don't even want to speculate because then I'll just sound like an idiot. I do. So no, I actually have no good answer for that. But I do have one more like tidbit of some like interesting things they've been doing. So a lot of people were very shocked at how people are able to add like transparent background. So like here, remove the background from this like person and give me a transparent background. Allegedly, and I'm in no way like a machine learning expert, an AI expert at all, but allegedly that's like impossible to do. And so what's actually happening is if you say remove the background, you can actually go in and look at what the initial background is that they've given you, and it's like the standard transparent style background, which is just white with like gray dots, and they have a filter on top that goes and will just remove everything that is so it's got a partial heuristic and a partial like LLM component to it. So they have done like a lot of interesting things that are not purely like just a crazy multimodal one shot get it done. So they've incorporated a lot. This is like OpenAI's thing. They're obviously insanely good with their model, but they've created a brilliant product on top of it, right? ChatGPT.
Awesome. So I made a birthday card. So think about me, I make birthday cards for my niece and nephew in the UK for each of their birthdays. And I've started off pretty generic, and I've made them more and more elaborate as the years have gone by and as AI has improved. My last attempt, I was making Mid-Journey versions of my nephew as a football player, as a soccer player. And it was so hard to keep the character consistent, but what I envisioned was this great comic strip where he's basically scores a bunch of goals, and that's his birthday card. That was incredibly time consuming. I was using Canva to kind of build it, put it all together. It's fun, you can kind of do it, but it does take some time. That is sort of single shot, one promptable, unreal within like 1 minute from ChatGPT now. It's truly remarkable and insane that that's what you can do. And so my wonder is like, the fear is what happens to the market where this is readily accessible for everyone. Companies like Fiverr and Upwork that have a lot of people who make logos. And actually, I saw yesterday, Upwork is actually changing their pricing charges that they make on everyone who earns on the platform to a sliding scale. And they haven't fully announced this yet, but they're doing a sliding scale where if your job is more supply and demand, so if your job is more in supply on the platform, they're going to charge you a higher take rate. So they're increasing from a flat rate of like 10% to up to 15%. And their example was that if you make logos, if that's your skill on Upwork, they're going to charge you 15% for that because there's too much supply of that. There's an oversupply, and there's going to be a lot of people taking this. I could be the comic strip cartoon birthday card maker on Upwork, but then so can everyone else now with ChatGPT. So it's democratizing it, but it's going to be causing some ripples for sure in the freelancer networks.
At what point am I going to go into Upwork, hire somebody who isn't real? I'm going to receive my logo in like 1 minute. I'm going to tell them I actually want this. It's going to go back. It'll send it back to me in 1 minute. I pay this person and we move on. No one was involved.
That's ChatGPT.
That is chat. I mean, why exactly, right?
Agents. So,
right.
So that to that point, you go around Upwork for that, right? You don't use it. You don't pay them the marketplace fee.
Correct.
So, yeah.
Awesome, Will. We are out of time. Up on our limit. I'm cutting us off today. 15 minutes on the dot. Let's go. Awesome. Well, good to see you, Will. Thanks, everybody.
Happy Friday.
Bye.